We got a really exciting slot coming up, and I need to just mention that this is, again, SAT is a massive part of what we do, and their support has been unwavering through relationships, through their financial commitment to supporting us. There's just so much, and I think they've been really great. So I can't really sing their praises enough. We want to thank them. And they actually are hosting the next slot for us, which is a panel discussion centered around domestic tourism and how it saved the day. The real heroes of tourism, the domestic market. So our host for it is Mashoto Mokgethi from SAT. Good morning. Are we morning? No, afternoon. Hi. We've got the rest of the panel consists of Oupa, Pilane from Graskop Gorge Company. Good afternoon. We've got Loren Pavitt from CapeNature. Hi. And of course, Ndabezitha from uShaka Marine World. Good afternoon, guys. And Mashoto, I'm going to hand straight over to you, I think.
Hi there. I'm hoping you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Very excited. So my name is Mashoto Mokgethi. I am going to showcase a little slide or two. So give me 3 seconds to act like I know how to do this. And it would be you. There we go. So as introduced, my name is Mashoto Mokgethi. I am head of domestic tourism at South African Tourism. With me, I have Loren Pavitt, as already introduced, and she's marketing and promotions manager at CapeNature. And she's responsible for strategic planning and management and implementation of tourism activities at CapeNature. We have Mr. Oupa Pilane from Graskop Gorge Lift. He is the co-founder and director. And he also is a great, I hear, tourism development advisor. And last but not least, Mr. Khoza, CEO of uShaka Marine World. And most of us know Mr. Ndabezitha because he was the CEO of Tourism KZN for about 10 years. Welcome, guys. I'm glad I'm not discussing this topic by myself because that would be very interesting. As discussed, we want to discuss domestic tourism. Has it saved the day? Has it not? That is the big discussion for today. To kick off my discussion, I thought, let me, if you've read my profile, you realize I'm a numbers girl. So let me bring in a bit of numbers to kind of give a sense of where our numbers are currently when it comes to domestic tourism. So you'll see the orange line would be 2019, blue would be 2020, and red would be our Jan to May 2021. And you'll see that while we are still recovering, but we are slightly currently above the 2019 figures for April and May, which means that we are picking up in terms of the number of domestic tourists that are actually going around the country. And this is total, so it covers all the different types of tourism. That is visiting friends and relatives, that's holiday, that is business. All of that is covered in that. Just to give a sense of where we are at so that when we have this discussion and you guys have questions, we're starting on a particular base. One of the things that our fantastic research team did was to kind of do a dipstick study to get a sense of where consumers are at. Have they changed in terms of their mindsets, their behaviors, their thoughts about travel based on COVID? And I just picked very few things to just showcase for you guys. And one of the key things is that when traveling, they want more information before they decide to travel. And what they're looking for is they're avoiding popular places. They don't want crowded places. They want wide open spaces. And search engines are still a very critical place for them to search for information. Now, I'm sure most of you are sitting thinking, I feel like this is kind of what they've been doing. It is pretty much what they have been doing. It's just it has been heightened at the moment purely because of the era that we're currently in. Now, given what I have showed you now, I do want to then get into our panel discussion because I'm not here by myself. So in terms of the panelists that we have, I just want to ask, I've showed these slides, I've given the stats that we've gotten from South African tourism point of view, but I want to hear it from you guys. Has domestic tourism actually moved the dial for you, or is it a myth, or, has it done anything for you? Has it changed anything? And please unmute and speak.
Who's going first? Okay, I'll go first. I think from us, from the Graskop Gorge Lift Company and Mpumalanga in general, I must say that we are quite fortunate, because when we looked at what most of the domestic travelers were looking for, we realized that almost 68% were really looking for outdoors activities. And our attraction ticked all the boxes. They were looking for outdoors, they were looking for scenic beauty, they were looking for views, and I think, and from that point of view, we've really seen an increase in our domestic numbers, especially when we compared them with even before COVID. We saw that there was quite an increase from our visitors that are coming to our attraction. And I think, to a larger extent, they have really have taken us out of the woods, I must say.
I must concur with that sentiment. In the Western Cape, we are blessed beyond measure with natural and scenic beauty. And I can definitely see South Africans have taken advantage of this. CapeNature's clientele is a majority percentage focused on local homegrown support. A very small percentage of that is supported through international market. So building a loyal domestic market is key to sustaining our tourism business in the Western Cape. And we can see that the behavior change that we've come across amongst our clients is that there's a newfound love and appreciation for nature and really just wanting to get out there and explore.
Maybe let me just come in, the silence. I think from where we're sitting, it's a very different story, because we obviously very much an attraction that is focused and geared towards local first. About 70% of our, because that's how we sustain ourselves, because obviously it's a very big facility. You would need a lot of repeat visits. Then maybe 20% is 25% is domestic tourism, and 5% is international. We sit with a very different kind of problem to the one that you're sitting, is that we have capacity restrictions, which then says people want to come here, but we can't accommodate them because we are not allowed to have a lot of people. I mean, we have a water park that take about 8,000 people, but we can only take 100 people, at any given stage. We have an aquarium and a dolphin show that takes about 2,500 people per each show. We normally stage about 3 shows, that's 7,500, but we can only have 100. So it means that from 7,500, you end up with 300 people. So we do have that. And the net effect is that it then affects the trade in our mall, which is then the village walk, because if our anchor attraction is not allowed to attract large numbers, it means that you're not going to have a lot of people who are actually coming through. In fact, we've had to deactivate our online ticketing system because it just wouldn't work, because otherwise we were just going to have chaos, because people buy tickets and they come in here and they demand to come in, and unfortunately there's nothing we can actually do. And we've also had this unfortunate thing that this place makes money 4 times in a year. So that is December, April, July, and June, July, and April. Yeah, the four key seasons, and they pay the cost for running the park for the entire year. So, but about almost 30% is in December. And we closed just when we were hitting our peak on the 15th, when the beach was closed. We were not allowed to operate. Same thing now in July, just when we were preparing for the school holidays, we were shut down, we were not allowed to operate. So it's been a very, very difficult situation to say. We normally get about 900,000 people here, but this year, financial year ended June, we ended up on about 270,000. So we lost about 66% of our capacity, and this place runs with about 53% of its revenue being ticketing. The rest is on food and beverage and all those things. But if there's no people, then food and beverage actually suffers as well. So people have been wanting to come here, but the problem is that the restrictions that we have do not allow us to carry as many people as possible. So it's been a big challenge. We had a bit of the best period we ever had was April, when we were allowed to bring in 500 people. We've had to increase the session for our dolphin shows, but also people would normally come to our water park and spend the whole day. But now we've limited sessions. Now you're only allowed in there for 3 hours, just to maximize numbers to at least 1,500. So we sit with a very different kind of a challenge, so to speak. Yeah, thanks.
And I must say that what you've said is quite critical, because one of the challenges we've experienced at South African Tourism is through our marketing, where we also bring out a marketing campaign and then we go into level 4, so we have to bring it back. And, we bring out a campaign and then, something happens in the country, like the looting that happens, so we have to bring it back. I've heard from Mr. Khoza how it's affected him in that instance. You guys, have you also had to kind of scale back or kind of rethink a number of things because of the macroeconomics of the country on any given Tuesday?
Absolutely. I think for us, especially now, the recent closure of Gauteng, we realized how important Gauteng is to the domestic travel in the country. Almost 50% of our income. We were quite surprised that we just dipped almost 50% of what we make generally, just by saying all those Gauteng beautiful people shouldn't come and shouldn't travel to any parts of the country. And it impacts on a number of things. And unfortunately, the first things that you have to consider is, what do I do with my staff? And it is unfortunate that each time when we are hit by all these restrictions, the first point of call will be, how do I manage the staff? And they're the first one, really on the line to be hit by whatever restrictions that are happening. But basically what then means, it means that you then have to scale down on everything. And it is unfortunate that we are not even warned. You see, the problem is that when these closures happened, you are not warned. So you have stocked on your beverages, you have stocked on your food and everything. So, and that's a loss that you don't recover. So you now have to give out all those things, because when you don't even know when you will open. We were sure that it will only take 2 weeks. And after that, it was another extension of 2 weeks. And with no relief assistance coming, which meant that, honestly, our income was really, really negatively impacted.
Definitely. The different restriction levels caught us all off guard each time. And we've had to really think out of the box in terms of what we're going to do to keep business afloat. Some of the things that we did was to do maintenance and upgrades to our products while they were closed and shut down. And when doing our 2020 budget forecasting, it was very difficult to establish what it was going to look like, because we were very much in the unknown. And it was sort of building the plane as you're flying it. But, there were challenges, despite the fact that to date, we have been able as the entity to achieve 40% of our annual target through the support of local tourism and seeing a lot more local travel take place. The behavior has changed to shorter stays, but more frequent stays. And just keeping our prices for our local tourists affordable for them. We know that with increase of cost of living, everything's going up, your rates, your taxes, your petrol. So we try and implement as many marketing campaigns, Mashoto, as you mentioned earlier, that speaks to their pockets, where they can still take the kids out of the house. We're very family focused. And as you mentioned, they are in a space where they're desiring these wide open spaces. They want to get out into nature. So it has been positive, the support we've received locally. But there also has been challenges. And one of the biggest challenge for us as CapeNature, as the entity, was around illegal access to our protected areas. When the beaches were closed during the summer period, we saw so many people wanting to go out to rivers and dams that weren't open for public access. So essentially they were trespassing. And we've had to work very closely with our stakeholders, such as private landowners, law enforcement, traffic officials, to kind of keep our hand on it. It's difficult because you're talking about hectares of lands where it's not actually manned. And so our fear was always just the damage that might be caused through this illegal access, such as fires, etc. But that was quite a big challenge for us as an entity.
That's very interesting. Loren, you spoke quite a bit about sort of the change in behavior of consumers, and what I want to know from all of you is that a thing that you've all seen where behavior has changed or the demographics of people that you're seeing has changed? So in terms of the consumer, have you seen a shift in the consumer in this time?
I think from our side, honestly, what we've seen is just an increase of numbers. We are fairly new. So we opened in 2017, December. So we had 2018, 2019 operating largely with almost 70 to 80% local tourism, domestic tourism. Because we were still trying to get into the itineraries of the international market. We were receiving very smaller buses that were easy to navigate, but the bigger buses hadn't really started to come into our facility. So what we have seen when we compared, especially in December, we realized that we actually had about 5,000 people more than the previous 2019. And that to us was quite exciting. But the only challenge is the spend, of course. The spend has gone down drastically because people are basically traveling more for views. They want to create their content, so they come in, take pictures, and leave. And we really had to then look at other activities that we could add in the facility to be able to increase our spend.
Yeah, with us, it's for example, we located very close to the cruise passenger terminal. Usually during the peak cruise season, we get a lot of people. I mean, if you think about it, on any given Monday or a Friday, there's about 4,000 people that are either embarking or disembarking between the period of October until April. And those people would tend to come here, buy, have breakfast and all those things. And we've lost out on all of that revenue that would normally generate. Obviously, we're hoping that things will begin to improve because there's a new cruise passenger terminal that is under construction. We're also finding that the spend is affected by the amount of time that people are actually able to spend, because if they come here, they've got different things that they can do. Then they'll probably have breakfast, lunch, and then dinner. Because now they're spending less time and there's fewer people that are actually coming here, it's a problem. We've had to split our pricing. Normally, we were selling a combo we've now had to split it just to maximize our revenue as well, because obviously it wouldn't make sense to continue discounting in a space where you've got limited capacity. And we've received a lot of complaints. Also, we had a lot of clients who were bulk buyers, you know, who were working with tour operators, and they would buy like 30, 40,000 tickets. And that's all dried up because obviously there's not a hell of a lot going on the tourism side. And therefore, no one wants to sit with 40, 50,000 tickets that have actually pre-bought. And we've had to then scale back on our advertising and marketing as well at the same time, because if you've got no capacity to accommodate even the few people that want to come, it just becomes a waste of time. So we're just doing a top of mind, you know, kind of awareness just to make sure that people still remember us. But overall, you know, there's a lot of work that we as attractions need to do with South African tourism around the top of mind awareness creation, just in preparation for the time when we have the right capacity to accommodate all these people. And lastly, also importantly, you know, we started with redemption, you know, companies that have got incentives, you know, like your Shell V Plus and all those people, because they're always looking for redemption partners to enhance their offerings. We signed up everything, we were ready to go, but we've had to scale back because we don't want to disappoint them. I mean, they're coming with large numbers. You know, imagine where you can redeem your points at the bank or whatever by coming to uShaka Marine for free. But we've had to scale back because we just don't have capacity to do that. So this is some of the things that we've had to do. But overall, we're quite positive things will come right once everyone's vaccinated. Thanks.
Awesome. I am going to ask one last question. And it is mainly that domestic tourists have always felt that South Africa is geared for international markets, not for them. In terms of pricing, one, and in terms of how they're actually treated relative to their counterparts. And it's the same when it's actually just domestic tourists, and they feel that there's racial profiling. Let's just, I think, summarize it like that. Do you think that's a fair comment to make from domestic tourists?
Look, from my experience, I think the other thing is that I sit also as chairperson of SATSA in the province and also chairperson of our local RTO. So I get a lot of calls from that point of view from people who are complaining about how they were treated in an Airbnb, how they were received, how they were locked out from a lodge because they came back late, you know, and the owners didn't communicate with them, you know. So, and unfortunately, it then is turned into racial kind of things, because you would find that most of the time the owners of the facilities are white and the clientele is black, you know, and those are some of the complaints that we have been receiving, and of course you would know that the top of the mind complaint will be noise. You know, South Africans, we are loud in general, you know, especially Black South Africans, we generally loud. So that also has really caused a bit of stir between product owners and clienteles, and we had to intervene in that regard. But generally, from a pricing point of view, look, I think, yes, they are complaining that your upmarket type private lodges are quite pricey. We understand that they were really designed for the international market, but we've really tried to engage with the product owners to be able to accommodate these locals. But going forward, we are seeing it as an opportunity for newcomers in the market. You know, talking tourism transformation now. So we're saying that instead of saying, let people drop down their prices, rather let's develop new products that will be priced along those requests from the majority of the domestic travelers. So we are seeing it as an opportunity and also an entrance of new product owners, especially from the previously disadvantaged communities.
Okay, I'm going to give the two just a few minutes to just give me the comments because we are a bit over time.
Yes, I do want to agree. In the Western Cape, diversifying our domestic market is very important for CapeNature. We work with a philosophy: if domestic market supports it, then international market will follow. Our product offering is not driven by mass tourism. It's more provided to our clients to create comfort for them. And we also take advantage of promoting the wide and open spaces that offers a healing power in terms of nature, and it brings a lot of diverse communities together.
Yeah, I think from our side, we really have a prize for everyone. We never really complain. We never really received any complaints around people feeling treated unfairly. But as you know, generally KZN as a destination is very much geared towards a local tourist. Particularly Black people, they feel much more comfortable going on holiday in KZN than anywhere else, because somehow they just feel that everything is just designed, and there's that understanding of a Black tourist as such. And therefore you find that generally anyone you go inland, the first place they want to go to KZN, because that's what they can associate with a Black holiday, so to speak. So I think there's a lot for other provinces to learn in that perspective, is that what are the things that KZN has done around that which makes people want to go there all the time, from a pricing point of view, from a reception point of view, and we never really have any complaints around that, even during my time at Tourism KZN. Thank you.
That is a brilliant close, Ndabo. And thank you, guys. This has been fascinating. I could do this like the whole day, because I've got like thousands of questions for you. But unfortunately, this is the end of it. And just to end it, I do have to say, though, because, I also have bills to pay, that we need to always remember that it is your country. Enjoy it, because nothing's more fun than a short lift. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. That was absolutely fascinating. What I love about the day unfolding is how the sessions all blend together.
Yeah.
So what you were talking about now about domestic tourism really was revealed during our benchmark study this morning. The role of secondary spend was revealed. The Shokoversum variable pricing would answer a whole lot of problems that we spoke about now. So it's really interesting how these things start melding and meshing. I think because the Western Cape is traditionally more dependent on international tourism, what I feel has happened with the pandemic is that, because usually the Western Cape is the one that's given a platform to talk about tourism. And I think with this, the tables have been turned, which is time.
Yeah.
And we need to learn, because I'm based in Cape Town, about domestic tourism, because if Graskop and uShaka doesn't get domestic tourisms and gets their pricing right and their offering right, you don't have a business. So it's been wonderful for me that these conversations have been turned around, because it's about time, and there's a lot that we can learn from this. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, brilliant. Really, really insightful. I have just time for one question, I think, unfortunately. I'm going to sort of pose it to the host, if I can. Maybe you can take us from there. It's from Alicia. Is the growth of domestic numbers from repeat visitors, or have you managed to tap into new first-time domestic visitors? It's quite an interesting question.
And to be very honest, it would be more your repeat visitors. And I say this because there's been a bit of, almost you want to take your toe out to just discover things, and then you take your foot out, and then, you kind of trying to see if you can travel, and are you going to be comfortable doing it? So it is more of your repeat visitors. And also because of how the economy is at the moment, it is a little difficult to tap into people who have never traveled before, because they haven't traveled before, mainly because of the economy, and the economy is worse at the moment. So I would definitely say repeat.
Repeat. Okay. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
So
Thank you.
can I comment on that one? one of the biggest things that we haven't mastered as a sector, we just don't know how to compete for disposable income, because the money is there, people are spending it, but the manner in which we position the product, we position it in a manner where people start thinking, I can't afford this. Black people spend credit. You see, until you sell tourism on credit, you're never going to get anywhere near where you're supposed to be, because if you look at the numbers, and we continue using the same kind of old model of selling. You arrive there, they say it's got to be 13,000. Where is it? Black people don't have 13,000, but they will spend 13,000. I mean, that's all I want to say.
Interesting.
Fascinating.
Very, very
Lots
cool.
of topics for next year and for virtual conversations.
I think our live chat
Thank you
list
so
is
much.
growing.
Twice a week for the next year.